We're on episode 5.
Epitaph solved.
Well...
Oh yeah, I know what's happening now. That's right. So Erica and Butler just solved the epitaph. Found the goal.
Natsuki's having a mental breakdown.
Dying inside again every episode.
Her tantrums are almost like on the same level as Maria's.
Not really tantrums.
Like an adult tantrum.
Anytime she complains in public, she's immediately shut up by Kraus. It's just her internal, what do you call it? Struggle.
Monologue?
Whatever.
Boom, 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 boom.
Knock, 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 knock. Who
Boom,
is it?
boom, boom,
Take a
boom.
guess who you think it is.
Well, it depends what room we're in.
Yeah,
If
have a
it's
guess.
Natsuki's room, it could be Genji. Or could it be the front door?
No, I'm pretty sure it's Natsuki and Genji, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The sudden sound of someone banging fiercely on the door brought Natsuki to her senses.
Oh, it's still going, it's creepy!
That's the knock I heard 3 nights ago. She had probably nodded off in the study while planning how they would overcome the next day. But what could it be? At a time like this? More importantly, the knock itself was strange. If someone wanted to contact her, they could have just used the internal phone line. She'd told them that she'd be here.
Is it the sun?
Could be Ava, maybe. Realizing that something strange was going on, Natsuki shook her head one more time, completely throwing off her drowsiness.
Or it could be Battler saying, I found the gold.
Oh, that's right, because she's in Kinzo's room.
Ava?
Yeah, probably. But yeah, Natsuki's like just chilling in Kinzo's room.
Without Kinzo there.
Yeah, because she's dead, obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably Ava.
I think it's probably Ava too.
Could be Rosa though.
Yeah, true. I can't really see any of the boys being like, Father, Father.
They've done it before,
Oh,
definitely.
really? Alright, well, let's see which voice I'm gonna get wrong. Oh, it is Ava! Father, it's Ava. I have an urgent, vital matter to discuss with you.
It was Ava's voice. Go with Natsuki.
What is this? I thought I told them to lock the doors and windows of the mansion tightly after everyone left for the guest house. So why is Ava here?
Natsuki ran up to the door, responded with a small knock, and spoke through the door in a quiet voice.
What is it? You're too noisy. Natsuki-ne-san? Why are you in Father's study at this hour? I told you to be quiet! Have you forgotten that the head values peace and silence more than anything else? Ava? Now's not the time to be saying that. Stop harping on it. Open up quickly. Bring Father out. The head just went to sleep. I don't know what business you have, but I will deal with it tomorrow. I don't have any business with you. Just open up right now.
Sometimes, multiple schemes and assumptions can fall apart due to the most direct, simple, and emotional of strategies. This is bad.
If I open the door, Ava will probably throw herself forwards and rush into the study. Now I can't even open this door.
At that moment, the phone suddenly rang.
It's okay. Both of the keys are to this... No, it's not okay. Both of the keys to the study are here. No one can open this door. Natsuki inched away from the door and grabbed the receiver. Hello, it's Natsuki.
It's me. Things are bad. I want you to come down to the parlor quickly. Wait, yeah, close enough.
Yeah, he was.
It was Kraus. His tone was strained. What in the world happened? It would seem that Butler-kun and this guest called Erica solved the witch's epitaph and found the gold.
Huh? Is that true?
Rudolph and the rest have forced their way in. They're saying Batlakun will show everyone the way to the hidden gold.
Right now, Ava-san is just outside the study door yelling at me to open it. But if I do that now, she might push her way inside.
I understand. I will go there too. Don't worry about Ava. Just stay there and don't do anything. I'll give you a signal once I've gotten Ava away from the door, so leave as soon as you hear that. Ready? Right after that, Kraus came up the staircase accompanied by Genji. A heated debate started between him and Ava.
Open up!
No, calm down. In the middle of that, there was a small knock as a signal. Probably Nazi talking. Kraus had cleverly pushed Ava away from the door and distracted her. During that gap, Natsuhi slipped out of the study and quickly shut the door. Ava noticed this, and her face twisted in disappointment. But the heavy sound of the auto lock had already rung out, and the door had been sealed.
The gold of the epitaph has been found. It's only natural that we should inform Father about this. Or else what? Is there some reason you can't tell Father about this?
Father gave strict orders that he not be awakened, no matter what, after he went to bed. Following those orders is the duty of the head's representative. Isn't that right, Genji-san? Yes. The master's sleep must not be disturbed, no matter what happens.
Even a rule like that depends on time and circumstances, doesn't it? I mean, the epitaph was solved. Father has a right to know straight away. Of course, the two of us will report on everything to the head tomorrow. That's our duty as the head's representatives. I don't care about that. Come on, just open the door. Let me see Father. Father, can you hear me? It's Ava. Please open up. Ow! Let go of me! That hurts!
We're telling you to listen to us. Don't knock on the door so loudly.
Ouch! Oh! Let go! Let us look like a dog barking. Oh, let go! Let go of me!
Kraus-sama, Ava-sama, the master is sleeping. Please refrain from disturbing him any further. When Genji spoke firmly, the two finally ceased their scuffle. It seemed that Genji, the one who had spoken for Kinzo since they were very young, still possessed an air of dignity strong enough to handle both Kraus and Ava. Ava put her arguments aside for the time being. She could hold off worrying about that until after she saw the gold with her own eyes. After all, not even Ava had seen it for herself yet. Natsuhi and the others had managed to somehow deal with the momentary crisis. However, the move of the demons that would sneer upon their efforts had already begun.
If Battler solved the riddle, does that mean that all the demons and things that report to Kinzo now have to report to him?
Dunno.
We'll find out.
Find out.
Battler solved the riddle of the epitaph, you say?
Yes, though he had a lot of help from that Erica girl, Battler was the one who reached the answer. Erica has proclaimed that she will abandon her rights to the Golden Land. Therefore, the one who reached the Golden Land is Battler.
Fate can be truly amusing. To think that Battler-sama would make it there.
What will you do, Beato? You promised to stop the ceremony if anyone solved the epitaph riddle.
Yes, that was the deal.
That was the deal, indeed.
Apparently, Battler-sama does not intend to become the master of the Golden Land. It now seems that no one will become our master.
That is also fate. It has been several decades since we first manifested in the human world through our bond with Lord Goldsmith. The time since then has been so very fun. Come on, Leah, you sound like an old lady. So, what are we going to do? If we go by Ricci and Goldsmith's rules, now that Battler's solved the epitaph and has decided not to become our master, we've been relieved from our duty, right?
That's true. I have no regrets at all. I have been prepared to be kicked down into
I don't know what that is.
All this time.
Isn't
Cocytus?
it's like, isn't it Greek? Like the underworld or something?
No, it had a different name. Can we Google it? I want to know. To the Google. Google.
I'm pretty sure it's Cocytus.
Oh, you're right. It is ancient Greek.
Yeah.
Cocytos.
It's the river in the underworld.
I thought it was the river Styx. Can you go translate just to see how it's pronounced?
Cocytus.
Yeah. Cocytus.
Yeah.
Cocytus.
Okay. Wait. We can't let that happen. You might not have any regrets, but I will keep on serving Natsuhi. It would be quite irresponsible to let ourselves be relieved from duty just because Battler solved the epitaph. Witches are forbidden from breaking contracts, but they also must not fail to show gratitude.
True. We should serve her until the family conference ends.
In that case, you won't be relieved from duty for a while either, Lord Goldsmith. Perhaps you should wait until you overcome this family conference safely. Said goodbye to Natsuhi-sama at the very least, and if possible, rewarded her for all her efforts.
Indeed. She has done well supporting my foolish son.
You're a fallen angel with one of its wings plucked off, aren't you? Just leave the other wing as a parting gift and go.
Indeed. Perhaps that would be fitting. Natsuhi may be worthy of bearing my wing. However, we are approaching the critical moment. Your reward is waiting for you. Try to make it through this test unscathed, Natsuhi.
It reminds me of like Underwater World.
I was just thinking it's like an aquarium. Boom! Chakalaka.
The mountain of gold left everyone speechless, regardless of how strongly they had believed in its existence. No one could look at this much real gold and not be shocked.
To think a place like this existed!
I can't believe it. That dud.
Everyone was stunned by the gold. The first one to break the silence and jump around in ecstasy was Hideyoshi. Letting out an excited laugh, he clung to the wall of gold. Then he felt the cold, hard touch of it all over his cheek.
This is incredible! It's the real thing!
I guess Rudolph. That damn dad of ours sticking this much gold in such a ridiculous place. Probably Ava, and then Rosa.
Now that we have this much, we no longer have anything to fear. With this, we could overcome any kind of trial. Rosa!
Nair-san, we'll be able to find happiness with this, right?
Ava and Rosa moved towards each other at the same time and hugged as they broke down crying. Ecstasy and shock, wonder and sighs. After stepping forward in front of the pile of gold that had caused these mixed emotions, Erica spoke as though she were an announcer in some show.
If this world is money, then this gold is the embodiment of happiness. Congratulations, everyone. I pray that this discovery makes all of your lives richer.
I take my hat off to you. To think you've solved the epitaph within a single day of coming to this island.
If you couldn't solve it in a single day, then you wouldn't be able to solve it no matter how many days you had. After all, it doesn't take more than an instant for your little grey cells to give you a flash of intuition. Also, I wouldn't have been able to solve this riddle myself. I ask that you praise Battler-san's achievement as well, everyone. I abandon any rights to this discovery. I'm already satisfied to have my reasoning proven correct. So, I'd like to give Battler-san full credit. I may be here, but please continue your discussion as though I wasn't. Battler-san called all of the adults here, making sure that none of the cousins would notice. That can only mean one thing. He must have wanted to begin the true family conference with all of you.
Erica, quit deciding things on your own.
My apologies. In that case, I'll step down as the facilitator of these proceedings. So, who will take my place?
Shrugging, Erica looked around at everyone. After a short period of silence, Ava made the first move.
None of us have forgotten the deal we made earlier today, right?
Yeah. Divide it between the four of us with 2.5 billion each.
Wait, what about Butler?
And then, the successor gets another 10 billion.
But wait a second. Who decided that the one who discovers the gold becomes the successor?
Hold up, you won't be able to get away with that, Natsuhi-san. We've all been arguing based on that premise this whole time, haven't we? You really think you can pretend that never happened now?
That's right. Weren't you the one worrying about how if one of the servants solved the riddle, they might consider themselves the successor?
But nowhere is it explicitly written that that's the truth, right?
You bastard! We were all aware of it, weren't we?
That's right, Aniki. Are you gonna change your position this late in the game?
Though it was never stipulated, I believe it was common knowledge between us. I don't see how you can suggest we ignore it completely. You can't just interpret the head's epitaph however you like! Where is it written that the one who finds the gold becomes the successor? The epitaph was decided upon by the head. You have no right to decide these things for yourselves.
Calm down, Natsuhi.
How could I calm down? Yes, I do find it quite impressive that Butler couldn't solve the epitaph. I certainly believe he should be rewarded for it. However, it's clearly a stretch to suggest that he deserves half of everything, and you won't get away with the argument that the discoverer becomes the successor.
That's low, Natsuhine-san. This is completely different from what you were saying earlier today.
I agree. Though it was never stipulated, the fact that whoever solves the epitaph becomes the successor has always been the greatest unwritten rule we've had. It's not fair if you start complaining about that at the last second, right? Yeah, it isn't fair.
Anyway, this gold is Father's. We can't decide how it will be split up without Father's permission.
No way! That's low, Natsuhi-san. We were talking about this on and on earlier, right? Are you saying that the whole conversation today was a bunch of bull? It just ain't right.
Why don't we just vote on it? Butler-kun, the one who found the gold, is the successor. My husband and I have no objections. What about you, Rudolph and Kirie-san? Rosa?
No objections here. Nice going, Butler.
I have no objections either. Butler-kun is the true successor, chosen by the epitaph.
They're taking this surprisingly well. I'm surprised.
Yeah.
If you aren't satisfied, then why don't we just ask Father directly?
Maybe because it's a Butler.
You reckon? Like, someone who's not really tied to...
It's mainly been a fight between Ava and Kraus. Hence Jessica and George.
Yeah.
Like, they've been using their kids kind of as their pieces. But, so like, Ava wouldn't want Jessica to be the successor. So since Battler, who's like not related to the actual fight itself between the two siblings, may become the successor, I think she's a bit more receptive to that.
Do you think if it had been Maria? I think they would have contested it if it was Maria. Maybe that's just because of the way that Maria is.
Yeah, that would be hard to say.
But I don't know if Maria would actually give up something like gold. I think, maybe they know that Battler's a little bit more lenient.
No, I think Maria would give up something like gold.
Do you reckon?
She's always said it's not about the gold, it's about the golden land. It's more about the magic to her.
Yeah, true. That's right, like you just said, Natsuhine-san. Father is the one who wrote the riddle of the epitaph. And he's also the proper owner of this gold. In that case, shouldn't we talk to Father about this directly? How should Butler-kun, the person who discovered the gold, be treated? I believe Father is the only one capable of making such a decision. But...
Didn't I tell you to calm down?
Rosa and Kirie-san are right. Let's ask Father. Your turn is already over, Ni-san, Natsuhine-san. Yeah. Oh, I thought everyone was saying yeah.
Who is this?
I don't know.
I think it's still Ava. I can't see anyone else talking like that.
I feel like it's everyone talking at once. That's my interpretation, though. Yeah, bring father out to us. We won't get anywhere with just you two. Let's begin the real family conference. Does this look like something you can just put off because he's tired? If we take this thing lightly, we'll have a massive problem on our hands. Hey, are you listening? We won't get anywhere with just you. Bring father out right now!
Our family conference is always like this.
How the hell do I know?
They're probably always like this on the inside. Looks like they won't be able to get this figured out right now without Kinzo-san. To think he's been called out to settle his children's fight, even though he's been announced that he has only a short while to live. I wonder how he feels right about now. Imagining that, no, reasoning that out will be a treat.
I am quite surprised that Ava also went straight to her dad to be like, hey, the riddle was solved. It's a little bit innocent of her, I think. Everyone's seeming a lot more less conniving compared to Natsuhi and Kraus-san at the moment.
Well, the three siblings outside of Kraus and Natsuhi had already suspected. We've already seen them the year before, or that same year, discussing before the conference, we think father's already dead. So that might have been a part on Ava's side to confirm, use that opportunity, because finding the gold's a big thing. So if he's dead, if he's alive, we should be able to get him out easy. But if he's dead, we'll be able to know for sure or something.
So you think there's still a bit of deviousness in all of them and their characteristics so far?
Well, yeah, they're displaying it right now. They're all they're revealing that they'd all been plotting, essentially, against Kraus and Natsuhi. And then Kraus and Natsuhi are trying to keep bluffing that, they're still in control of things.
Yeah.
The parents ignored Battler and Erika and kept yelling at each other on and on. Even though Battler had more or less imagined that this sort of thing happened behind the scenes, this was the first time he'd seen it. He'd suspected it since 6 years ago, and he'd been able to get a pretty good idea of what this was like by the darkening expressions on his parents' faces when this time of year drew near. However, this argument his relatives were having before his very eyes was much more ugly than he'd imagined. That's why he was very glad that he'd called the adults out here without letting the cousins catch wind of anything. Perhaps because everyone was tired out from this seemingly endless argument, they took a short break. It was decided that this family conference inside the Golden Land should be moved over to the mansion. This place may have been gorgeous like a VIP room, but there was no heating and it was a little bit cold. It wasn't well suited for a long conversation. They thought of the possibility that someone might snatch the gold away while their backs were turned, but of course no one could manage much with just human hands and a small amount of time when it's 10 tons of gold they're dealing with.
It's massively heavy.
In fact, it might be said that having this mountain of gold in the background was actually robbing them of the ability to make sound decisions. So they agreed to return to the mansion, in part so that they could regain their composure and continue the conference more cold-bloodedly.
Wouldn't the amount of gold anyway, though, allow Kraus and Natsuhi to get out of debt?
It depends how big his debt is. Remember, he's failed so many investments and ventures. All he needs is time. Because it's essentially they've confirmed, yes, his investment is going to pay off, significantly, but he just needs more time. And the issue is the other three siblings don't have time, and they need to get rid of their debts, ASAP.
Okay.
Then, if you would excuse me for the night, I imagine I'd just get in the way if I remained any longer.
Sure, sorry. Did we bother you too much?
At least apologize for that horrible display.
Let us show our gratitude again tomorrow. Sorry for letting you see such an embarrassing side of us.
Thank you, Rosa. You said that you refused, but allow us to prepare a fitting portion out of gratitude for you as one of the first to discover the gold. Right, Nissan?
Yes. We know what you're capable of. I think you can grasp our current circumstances. 20 billion yen in gold isn't something they wanted out in the open. They didn't want an outsider like Erica telling people about it. Of course, Erica had already reasoned out that much. She wore an unpleasant smile on her face as though she understood all too well.
You don't need to worry about me. Of course, I have no desire to tell anyone about this. And if I did, no one would believe me without proof. I got to see something interesting tonight. It was quite a spectacle, so I am more than satisfied.
I see. I guess it's not every day you see 10 tons of gold.
Seeing the gold was the spectacle? Of course not. Judging by Erica's dark nature, it's obvious what she's happy about. I thought about telling her to just go away, but even I wanted to get out of this place. I tried to head back to the guest house along with Erica. However, Kirie-san grabbed my shoulder.
You can't go, Battle-kun. Please come with us.
Yes, yes. You're now a real successor. You've got to have an audience with father and have him acknowledge you right away.
That's something only the family head may decide. Don't make things up on your own.
Battler, I realize it'll be a pain, but stick around with us for a bit longer. Don't say anything. Just stay quiet and keep your head down. Got it? Just do whatever you want. It would have been easy to say that I had no interest in being the successor, but I was sure that would only add more oil to the fire. Even if I hadn't been ordered to keep quiet, staying shut up like a clam was clearly a good idea. In that case, would it really be so bad if they just let me go back to the guest house? Dad put his arm firmly around my shoulder, and I told him it was uncomfortable and to let go. However, he didn't pay attention to a word I said.
Aw, that
Some
lad.
money on his mind. I've solved the epitaph, just like you wanted. When you were the game master, we'd always get those letters. Try and solve the epitaph. If you don't, I'll kill you all. Why did she want to make us solve the riddle of the epitaph? By solving it, we found a mountain of gold. Yippee for us. And what about Beato? Does she gain anything by having us find the gold? Or does she lose something? As far as chessboard thinking tells us, people don't ever make moves that cause them to lose something. That means you must have something to gain by having us solve the epitaph.
No. This child has nothing to gain from having someone solve the epitaph.
Are you sure that's okay, using red like that without her permission?
This child most likely wishes for it.
Virgilia, who had suddenly appeared there, quickly gave an answer to my question with the red truth. In the past, I sometimes guessed that Beato tried to make us solve the epitaph, because she wanted to make us find the gold's hiding place for her, so she could snatch it away. Is that wrong too?
Yes. In the first place, the gold of the Golden Land belongs to this child. She had absolutely no need to make someone find it for her or to snatch it away herself.
Of course. Beato is Beatrice the Golden. Isn't she the master of the Golden Land and the Ushiremiya family alchemist? That totally makes sense. However, that makes me even more confused. Even if someone exposed the answer to the epitaph's riddle, Beato has nothing to gain. No, to the contrary, her own gold might be stolen away. In that case, I'm understanding this less and less. I understand the epitaph murders. It might be revenge against the Ushiremiya family, or else a ceremony to revive her powers as a witch. After all, she's probably doing it because of some reason or goal of her own. But what's the point of her telling us to solve the epitaph? Whether we solve it or not, she has nothing to gain at all. In other words, the whole issue of whether the epitaph is solved or not is immaterial in Beato's eyes.
You're right. Whether the epitaph riddle is solved or not, this child stands nothing to gain at all.
It doesn't matter whether it's solved or not. In other words, could we say that the epitaph's riddle itself is immaterial to Beato?
You're right. The epitaph's riddle doesn't have any meaning for this child. So even if you take it to an extreme and call the epitaph's riddle immaterial, it may not be possible to argue against your claim.
Beato, why are you making us solve the epitaph's riddle? If we liken the witch you are to a pair of scales, the epitaph murders lie on one plate, and the riddle of the epitaph lies on the other plate. After all, she's saying she'll stop the epitaph murders if the epitaph is solved. In other words, the epitaph murders and the epitaph's riddle are worth the same to Beato, like two sides on a balanced scale. That means that both the epitaph's riddle and massacring all the relatives are equally significant from Beato's point of view. But Virgilia responded with the red truth. Regardless of whether the epitaph is solved or not, Beato has nothing to gain. If she has nothing to gain, then this epitaph's riddle is meaningless and immaterial to Beato. In that case, how much are the epitaph murders, which lie on the other side of the scales, and are equal to the epitaph's riddle in value, worth to her? Think. Don't stop thinking. The epitaph murders and solving the riddle of the epitaph have equal worth. As long as the epitaph murders, which are Beato's goal each time, have this single way that they can be stopped, a way that she decided on herself, both are worth the same thing to her. X equals Y. And whether the epitaph's riddle is solved or not, Beato has nothing to gain. Y equals 0. So in this case, what is X? Wait a sec. That means the epitaph murders are also meaningless and immaterial. Every time she performs these bizarre serial murders, she's willing to spend an incredible amount of effort to politely send advance notice, and then kills us one by one in accordance with the epitaph, never getting exposed. So all of that is meaningless to her. I spun the chessboard around and searched through Beato's moves over and over. This is always the first place I stumble. The significance of the epitaph murders. Why did she have to commit serial murders in a way that reproduced the witch's epitaph? If she wanted to kill the whole Ushiremio family for revenge, it'd be much simpler, safer, and more reliable if she just put poison into their dinner. Or else went around killing people one by one in the middle of the night while they were sleeping. However, on the first evening, Beato sent us a letter that sounded like an advance notice, and then carried out a 3-part serial murder with large gaps in between. The 6 people of the first twilight, the 2 people of the second twilight, and the 5 people of the fourth and later twilights. We aren't fools. Once the first murders occur, we barricade ourselves in somewhere to stave off any further murders. Furthermore, we quickly suspect a culprit among us and start analyzing each other's alibis. As the victims increase, the number of suspects decreases automatically, and Beato's chances of success in the serial murder drop closer and closer to 0. All the epitaph murders are like she's strangling her own neck, making it harder to succeed in this serial murder she's attempting. All for a useless embellishment, all just for show. She's raising the difficulty of completing her own objective.
That does follow. She really is a strange child.
Did you know? In mystery novels, they call things like these epitaph murders plotline murders. I think you can split the possible motives for plotline murders like this into 3 groups.
And what are those?
Well, first off, maybe following the epitaph gives rise to misconceptions about evidence and alibis, which might benefit the culprit. Pretending to be dead and mixing yourself in with the victims would fit this pattern, as would committing murders that don't actually follow the epitaph, giving yourself an alibi by getting people to incorrectly guess the order of events.
I see. So perhaps she only made it look as though she was killing them in a ceremonial fashion, following the epitaph, when she was actually guiding their thinking in a manner that benefited her. I do find that intriguing.
However, in our games, the dead are truly down for the count thanks to the red. While she might have confused people in the world of the game board, she can't confuse us up here like that. In other words, the most obvious possible goal for her isn't the real one.
In that case, what are the other two possible reasons for carrying out plotline murders?
Another one is coincidence. A crime just happens to resemble the epitaph without anyone in particular trying to make it do so, and the witnesses mistakenly think it's a plotline murder. Humans try to find cause and effect in everything they see. If we think we know what something is, then that's how it looks to us.
I see. That's intriguing too, but would that really work? In these child's games, advance notice of the crime is always given before the murders of the first Twilight. Also, I believe you've repeatedly found letters and circumstantial evidence that clearly shows that the culprit is carrying out epitaph murders.
Yeah, that's right. It isn't a coincidence. From the very beginning, Beato has been advancing with the goal of making this look like a series of epitaph murders. We weren't mistaken about that. These are clear plotline murders. So this motive, or lack of motive, doesn't work either.
In that case, there's only one motive left, right?
The last one is because they want to show someone something. More specifically, fear. By following the epitaph, she gives the others clear notice in advance that the murders will continue. The survivors are in constant fear of the murders, which they're certain will continue.
In other words, this child performed these epitaph murders to make someone feel the fear of death?
Or at least, that'd explain things pretty well. The grotesque mutilation of corpses and the dark decorations were all a show to terrify us.
To terrify whom?
Huh? Well, like I said, us. After hearing that one line Virgilia spoke so casually, my thoughts clouded over once again. Is it really sufficient to use the vague word us? There are many humans in the Ushiromiya family. There's the head and the one who holds the rank of his successor, grandfather and Uncle Kraus. There's the relatives who have some pull in the business world. On the other side, you have the young cousins who usually visit at most once a year, and the unfortunate servants who just happen to be on duty that day. Even if the culprit hates all of us, there should be clear differences in how much they hate some of us compared to others. So, it should be possible to pick out people among us that the culprit especially wanted to terrorize or have revenge against. If we liken this to a kid eating dessert, isn't the strawberry on top of a shortcake the part you should eat last? No one tells you that you shouldn't eat it first, but our mentality encourages us to save it for later. In that case, the culprit would want to leave the person they hated most until the end. Yeah, like that line by my favorite character in this novel I like. Something about how the worst way to kill someone is to murder those close to them first, make them as miserable as possible, and only kill the person then.
Oh my, that must have been quite a terrifying novel. How frightening.
In that case, you could argue that the people who stay alive until the end are the ones Beato hates the most. However, every single time the order of people get killed changes around completely. If we try counting up the people who live until the last Twilight every single time, even though they do die in the end, I'm the only one.
Let me first speak with the red. Battle-kun isn't the culprit. Battle-kun didn't kill anyone. This can be said of all games.
Then that just makes it even more likely that it's me. It means the sole reason she had for bringing about the epitaph murders was to show them to me. Every time Beato brags that she'll choose whom to kill next with a roulette. However, I'm the only one she never kills. Though she does kill me in the end, she leaves me be until the very last moment. In all of these supposedly random games, there's only this one unchanging constant. She wants revenge against me? So, is she performing the epitaph murders to make me feel fear?
That's wrong. Her goal is not to make someone experience fear. And it isn't to have revenge on someone either.
In that case, the epitaph murders really don't mean anything to her. The epitaph's riddles is meaningless, and the corresponding epitaph murders are also meaningless. X equals Y equals 0. But even so, she's clearly trying to show these meaningless things to me. What could she want from me that'd be worth the same to her as something meaningless? I don't get it. The more I think about it, the less I understand what she's thinking. Beatrice, the fickle witch who committed a meaningless, worthless string of serial murders. Even the epitaph's riddle, which that witch used as the trigger that could suspend the serial murders, is meaningless, immaterial. And yet, she's thrusting this meaningless, immaterial thing in front of my face. What is it that you want from me? Or else, what is it that you're giving me? My idea that Beato has clearly been taking revenge on me has already been denied by Virgilia's Red Truth. Both X and Y, both the epitaph murders and the epitaph's riddle, hold no meaning for Beatrice. X equals Y equals 0. However, since she's thrusting those things in front of me, they must have some meaning. She showed us the scales representing, if you don't solve the epitaph, I'll carry out the epitaph's murders. In other words, neither the epitaph murders nor the epitaph's riddle have any significance by themselves. However, it becomes meaningful when she puts both halves on the scales and puts them on display before us. No, before me. In other words, it should be like this. X equals 0. Y equals 0. X plus Y is greater than 0. A scale with meaningless, weightless things on both sides. However, it has weight itself, and gives the rest meaning. It's almost like playing, like kids playing rock, paper, scissors. Rock, paper, scissors is an extremely familiar method of randomly determining a winner and a loser. He sometimes wagers some sort of reward on the outcome, but kids often do rock, paper, scissors just to play without betting anything in particular. Unless you bet something, you have nothing to gain or lose except happiness and frustration. In other words, the two sides of the scale, both winning and losing, are immaterial. However, the very act of seeing which way it will tip. The reason kids play rock, paper, scissors. After all, the kids are enjoying the communication that surrounds the game, and they aren't purely interested in the value of winning or losing. They aren't overly concerned about who wins and who loses. That would mean it doesn't matter to Beato whether the epitaph murders succeed or not. It almost feels like she's just enjoying the process. In the past, I cursed her, deciding that she was a heartless witch who kept murdering people for no reason. But right now, I can't imagine that's true.
Thank you. In that case, I'll give you one more line of red. Beato never committed a murder for the sake of pleasure.
She didn't do it for pleasure, and she didn't do it to make anyone feel fear. Since she has nothing to gain, she doesn't care whether the epitaph murders succeed or fail. It's almost like a random game kids would play.
That's not right. It does have a meaning. It has meaning for her.
And what is this meaning? Oh.
Yeah,
I don't get it. Even though both sides of the scale are immaterial, the scale itself has some weight to it in her eyes. Of course, it isn't meaningless. Some meaning definitely exists. In the previous game, she urged me to remember my sin of 6 years ago. Am I supposed to believe that was meaningless too? No, that definitely isn't the case.
So we've got two mysteries of the past. We've got a 19 years ago and a 6 years ago. And a 2 years ago. with the death of Kinzo.
Oh, that's not really a mystery, is it? We know he's dead.
Yeah, true, I guess.
I clearly remember the serious gaze Beato had back then. Unfortunately, I didn't have a clue what she meant. When she saw that, she was horribly dejected. That's right. At that time, I'm sure she even went as far as to say that the crime wouldn't have occurred if I hadn't come. It does have meaning. It means something to her. And it's connected to something she wants from me. I laughed softly and poked Beato lightly on the head, then patted her head. Next time you want to send a love letter, I suggest you just write, "I love you." If you make it too roundabout and confusing, no one's going to be able to figure it out. I still don't have a clue what she's thinking. Even so, I won't stop thinking. I've only just started spinning the chessboard around. I definitely won't give up on this journey in search of your thoughts.
Oh, nice guess. So it's 11 minutes to 12?
So there'll be one more scene before the first twilight, I'm pretty sure.
And we know that people have died? Because this is the recap, isn't it, still?
Yeah. We had George, Hideyoshi, I think Rosa Maria. It's 4. Isn't it 6 on the first twilight? Probably... Yeah, I can't remember the rest. I remember the rest on this.
We'll find out next time on Umineko.